A lot of Bannerlord players just keep companions in their party forever and never really think much more about them. But one of the best things you can actually do once you've got your own kingdom going is turn one of those companions into a completely new clan. And that sounds decent on its own, but it's actually way better than it sounds, because you're not just losing one companion, you're basically creating a whole new group that can help your kingdom grow. So if you have got your own kingdom, a spare fief, enough money, and a companion you don't mind giving up, you can promote them and make them their own clan. So instead of them just being another person in your party, they become a proper clan leader inside your kingdom. And that changes their value a lot, because now they are not just useful to you directly, they can start helping your kingdom as a whole. The reason this is actually strong is because later in Bannerlord, the game stops being all about just you and your own
I'm
party.
yours
It
to
becomes way
command.
more about how strong your kingdom is overall. How many clans you have got, how many parties are around the map, who can defend your fiefs, who can join your armies, and who can actually help when a war starts getting messy. So when you turn one companion into a clan, you're not just replacing one person, you're adding more strength to your kingdom as a whole. And that's what makes this so good. Because one extra companion in your party is nice, but a whole extra clan that can move around the map, help in wars, and back you up in long term is way more valuable once your kingdom starts growing. That's why I think this is one of those mechanics that sounds decent at first, but is actually much stronger when you really think about it. And once your kingdom starts spreading out, having extra support like that becomes a lot more valuable than people expect. What you're really getting from this is more support. That's the simplest way to put it. You're getting more people who can help when wars start, more people who can be called into armies, and more people who can move around your land and actually do useful things. And that matters a lot once your kingdom gets bigger. Because the bigger your kingdom gets, the less you can do everything yourself. You can't be everywhere at once. You can't defend every settlement yourself, and you can't chase every enemy party yourself. So having another clan around gives you more presence on the map, and that can make a very big difference. That's why I wouldn't look at this as just giving away a companion. I'd look at it more like turning one spare companion into a long-term kingdom support. That is really when you start to feel the difference, because your kingdom has more people actually doing things without everything depending on you. And the best part, it gets better over time. That's probably the biggest reason I like it. The clan will become more useful as your campaign goes on. So this is one of those decisions that might seem decent at first, but later on you realize it was actually a smart move, because that clan is still there helping your kingdom long after the original companion would have just stayed as another character in your party. That's why I think long-term value is a big part of what makes this so good. That said, it's definitely not free. You're giving something up to do this. You're losing a companion, spending money, spending influence, and probably most importantly, giving away a fief. And that part matters, because if your kingdom is still weak, or you don't really have land to spare, or you're barely holding things together, then this can actually be a bad move. So I definitely wouldn't treat this like something you should always do. It's strong, but only when it makes sense for where your campaign is at. For me, this feels best once your kingdom is already in a decent spot. Not perfect, but stable enough that giving away one fief isn't going to completely mess you up. So if you have spare resources, a companion you don't really need anymore, and you want more loyal support inside your kingdom, then this starts looking really strong. This feels much more like a mid to late game move rather than an early on move. It's the kind of thing you do when you're starting to think less about survival and more about building your kingdom up properly. I probably wouldn't do this too early. If I'm struggling for money, struggling for influence, or I really need every companion for direct jobs, then I'd rather just keep the companion. Same with the thieves. If I don't actually have one to spare, then I'm not forcing this just because the mechanic exists. Because at that point, I think making yourself stronger is more important than trying to expand your kingdom. I also wouldn't just use anybody for this. If I've got a companion who's really important to my setup, like someone doing a job I rely on all the time, then I probably don't want to lose them yet. If you have got a really good scout, surgeon, or someone who's doing something important for my party, I'm probably keeping them. This feels much better with a companion who's useful but not essential. Someone you can afford to lose without weakening your own setup too much, because the whole point is to make your kingdom stronger without making yourself weaker in the process. I do think the biggest mistake people make with this is doing it too early, or just doing it because it sounds good on paper. Because yeah, making a new clan sounds strong, and it is strong, but only if your kingdom can actually afford it. If you give away a companion you still need, or a fief you really can't spare, then you can end up hurting yourself more than helping yourself. I think that's where some people go wrong with Bannerlord in general. They see a mechanic that is strong, but they use it at the wrong stage of a campaign. So with this, I think patience matters a lot. If your kingdom is already stable, it can be a really smart move. If it isn't, you're probably better off waiting. For me, this is at its best when you've got one companion who's decent, but not important enough that losing them really hurts you. Because if they're not one of the core parts of your setup anymore, then this is where I start thinking they're probably worth more as a clan than as a companion.
I'm yours.
That's when the trade starts to feel worth it. You lose one character, but you gain something that helps your kingdom more overall. And I think that's the point when the mechanic goes from just sounding interesting to actually being really useful. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth doing in the right campaign, not something I'd rush into, but once your kingdom's in a good spot, it can be a really smart move. Before I forget, I'll show you how to do it. You just want to speak to one of your companions. Once you speak to them, I wish to reward you for your services. And then pick a castle or somewhere you want to give them. I'd pick the worst one normally, and it will cost you 20,000 gold and 500 influence. Are you sure? Then you have to name the clan, which you can name it anything you want really. It doesn't really matter. But after you've done that, then that new clan is in your kingdom. That new clan will spawn in 2 other clan members. Obviously, the person, your companion, will be the clan leader, but it will spawn in 2 other clan members, which they will also be able to run around with troops, which gives you a couple hundred extra troops from one companion. Just be patient, they won't show up straight away.